So the Arena Championship happened over the course of this weekend, and well, Rakdos won the tournament again. I'm gonna be honest, I'm just exhausted about talking about Rakdos over and over and over again. I can't wait for the ban announcement that's supposed to be happening later today. I will definitely post a video on that, probably this same day, so expect that later on. But I don't know. I didn't watch the tournament. I didn't care about the tournament, and that's mostly because Wizards also don't care about the tournament, and they don't advertise it at all. They didn't update at all on Twitter. They didn't even post the winner on Twitter. I don't know if they did right now, but it wasn't the case recently. The last time I checked, that there was just I don't know. They went quiet on the tournament. They always do this for the Arena Championship. It's like they really don't care about it. They don't care about Arena anymore. Arena is just like I don't know. They just care about paper. So yeah, I did not care about the tournament at all, and unsurprisingly, I mean, we had some cool deck lists here, as you can see. We have in top 8, we've got some Jeskai Dragons, we've got Selesnya Enchantments, we've got 5-color Ramp, we've got the mono white aggro deck, and we're gonna visit those deck lists really quickly later in this video. But you know what? I guess let's start things off with the winning deck list. I'll go over it real quick. All right, here's the Rakdos deck. Nothing you haven't seen before. Um, Vitaly, Reach the Multiverse, Chandra, Invoke, Shield Red, Fable, Bloodscythe Harvester, Bankbuster, Removal Spells. Really? Nothing interesting to talk about in this list. I mean, there's another copy of Reach and Vitaly in the sideboard. I don't know. But, I mean, either way, I guess it's not to, like, say that they don't deserve the win. They chose the best deck, and I'm sure they played really well as well. So, Benjamin definitely deserves the win. It's just like it's overshadowed by the fact that I mean, I hope everybody feels the same way. I can't take it anymore. Like, I don't want to see another Rakdos deck in the future. I really hope that this meta game just moves away from Rakdos with the upcoming bans here. But I don't know. There's not much to talk about in this list, really. I mean, there are two Gixis command. I guess that's kind of interesting. um to raise the last transmogrants. I mean, all these cards we've seen before. This deck has been seen pretty much 1-to-1, either on ladder or in the previous tournaments. Yeah, really, that's about it. Let's just move on to some more interesting deck lists, because you know we've seen enough of Rakdos these days, and I hope we don't see it going forward. All right, so the first non-Rakdos deck we're going to take a look at, it's actually a pretty interesting deck, and it's a deck that has seen a lot of play recently on Arena, especially in Best of One. But, you know, supposedly this beats Rakdos, but the problem is this deck beats the old Rakdos list consistently. I mean, obviously with the inclusion of like Surge of Salvation, got Elish Norn as well. Got some Nissas, really cool sideboard. Circle of Confinement, Catildas, Loran, and a Forest in the sideboard as well for that extra mana, going from 21 to 22. But, this deck destroys Invoke Despair. And the problem is, now they run a Tally Breach, so it doesn't matter anymore. It's Tally Breach Chandra. All of those things are absolute disasters when it comes to playing an enchantment deck. Like, the enchantment deck is really good at setting up permanents, at going like kind of wide, at overpowering your opponent in the mid game by representing a bunch of value, a bunch of card draw. But when your opponent's breaching on turn 5 and they get their tally down, and then they get like a Chandra that can deal damage face or double up like something else, these surges end up just not mattering as much because, well, they're not necessarily using Invoke on you anymore. You can't stop Breach with Surge. I mean, I guess you can stop Chandra activating, but it's just not enough. It's just not enough. Really cool and good deck. This deck has gained a lot of power since it was seen previously in Standard, just because Calyx is huge, and Audacity is pretty good as well, and Ossification is pretty good. We got a lot of good tools in enchantments, just simply not good enough. It's just not good enough. But it has a good chance. I would say this deck is close to beating Rakdos consistently, if not beating it. Like, it's probably favored, I would say, depending on the list. Definitely not favored against the triple breach, triple Atali deck that we saw um, from Benjamin, but it's just unfortunate. This deck would have been fantastic if we didn't get breach as a card. and Italy, I guess. Breach and Italy. Either way, cool deck. And yeah, I like the deck building. It's really, really, really nice to see. All right, moving on, we have mono white. Really, really interesting list. Like actually fascinating. Um, Never thought I would ever see Hot Shot Mechanic seeing play in standard, but here it is. Hot Shot Mechanic instead of the 2/1 that can draw you a creature, which is kind of interesting, but I guess there aren't that many creatures in this deck. We've basically got a deck that's using... It's not an aggro deck, really. It's more of a mid-range deck. But I think that's why it couldn't go to the end. Because you can't fight mid-range with weaker mid-range. You can't fight Rakdos with just mono white, like creature mid-range focus. Like, it's not going to work. This deck is really cool because it uses the incubator tokens to gain a lot of board presence in the mid-game, including Invasion of Gobakon that can protect your creatures and, you know, give +1/+1 counters to those tokens as well. Basically a go wide deck with some protection to sweepers because of the incubator tokens. Some card draw, Sunder the Gateway, which is just really interesting. Like, destroy target non-token artifact or enchantment and incubate 2. Very, very good value in this card. Very, very good value. I feel like this card is like fantastic card design. Or you can incubate 2 and then transform an incubator token. So it's just really good value. Basically, a lot of value, but unfortunately, the speed is not there. The speed is just not there. 25 lands is quite a bit as well. But I guess since you're using the Patriarch and the Bankbuster, it makes sense. I think this deck is just simply too slow. But very cool. Also, the sideboard is pretty interesting. We've got some Fleeting Spirits, which can, you know, you can discard a card to flicker it, which is fantastic. At the beginning of the next end step, actually, so it's even better, technically. Well, actually, is it better? I don't know. Probably around the same. And you can also exile 3 cards from your graveyard to give it first strike. I'm pretty sure this is for control matchups. So pretty good stuff. Lay down, obviously good removal spell. Not in the main deck, by the way. Using Ossification in the main deck and Destroy Evil. More Destroy Evils, another Sunder, and a Sarah Paragon. So actually, I'm pretty surprised not to see more Sarah Paragons because it has incredible synergy with Invasion. I feel like Sarah Paragon here instead of like some of these would be pretty good. Like this card is a little bit underwhelming because Rakdos does not give you time to pay X twice to incubate 3 X times. But cool deck. Doesn't beat Rakdos. And finally, we have the most hyped up deck from the tournament, I think, by Andre. And, you know, Andre and his team, really, really good deck builders. They usually come up with like really solid lists. And this is one of them. The Invasion plus Zergo synergy is very good because you can, you know, Zergo comes in, flying haste 4/4, has hexproof as long as it entered the battlefield this turn. And whenever one or more dragons you control deal combat damage to a player or battle, look at the top 3, put 1 in your hand, rest at the bottom. And you may return one of those dragons to its owner's hand. So you play this for 5, you attack Invasion, and that way you don't have to bring this back to your hand. You have a way to protect it, and it becomes a 5/5, which is an actual huge threat. So you're transforming your 4/4 into a 5/5, which speeds up the clock, and you're also protecting it with the Invasion that also gained tempo earlier in the game. So overall, good idea, and it would theoretically have the speed to beat Rakdos because of the tempo advantage from this, the counter spells, especially in the sideboard. You can see another Disdainful Stroke, which is fantastic. But the removal spells are horrendous, like actually horrendous. You have Destroy Evil, which is probably the only good thing you actually have for the threats that Rakdos represents. I mean, then there are, you know, the Play with Fires and the Abrades that can deal with the Fable token and the Fable itself, but no Sweeper, no Brotherhood's End. Like for combat, that's one of the weakness of Jeskai mana. You can't really play Brotherhood's End, and you know, Wandering Emperor is an answer to big creatures, but they have to attack, and by that point usually you're already behind, so quite rough. When things go badly, things are going to go really badly with this deck, but really cool to have Invasion of New Phyrexia as well in this deck. And Reckoner Bankbuster, I mean, why? I mean, that's not a cool card, but I'm just pointing out that there's only one. There's only one Banquester, and there's one in the sideboard, but cool list. Unfortunately, I think this deck is just less consistent than Rakdos, and while it has the tools to beat it, if they get a breach off and they get your Zergo, that's kind of rough. That is kind of rough. But or even Wandering Emperor. But the synergy is quite good between Invasion and Zergo. The problem is you have to draw both. And you're also not dealing damage face the turn you're doing this, so it's a good idea. I think it does beat Rakdos most of the time because obviously they tested against it. The problem is it doesn't beat Rakdos that much more of the time. Like it's not going to be extremely favored. Nothing is extremely favored against Rakdos. They always have every card in their deck is just so good that even if you find the hardest counter you can find to Rakdos, it will never be that much of a good matchup for you. It would never. It's always going to be close to 50-50. So, but nonetheless, really cool. Also, Chrome Host Seed Shark. I'm not even sure if they ever brought this in because I wasn't watching the tournament, but really interesting card. Seems like it would be fine, but I don't know for what matchup. Maybe it was for the Rakdos matchup. I can kind of see it. Like they don't necessarily have. I mean, the problem is you don't want to give targets to their removal spells because they can't really target Zergo anyways. So what are they going to do with Go for Throat? Well, they're going to hit Chrome Shark. So for Barrage, really interesting. Stroke, Loranzo are just normal. And Archangel's pretty cool. Obviously, I love Archangel. And 2 Sunfall. I mean, this is a pretty normal sideboard, I would say, other than, well, actually, that's not true. There's Chrome. The Sea Shark is the Seed Shark. I keep calling it Sea Shark for some reason. Sea Shark is kind of cool. But unfortunately, this deck falls short of winning the entire tournament. It did get second place, though. So, cool. Can't wait for the bans later today. I'm tired of Rakdos. I'm just deflated. I'm honestly, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best. I'm a little bit scared of what's going to happen here later today, but fingers crossed. And either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pretty low energy video, but low energy topic, I guess. Rakdos winning a tournament, but nonetheless, see you in the next one. If you enjoy my content and would like to help me keep making it, consider supporting me over on Patreon, where you can access to a bunch of bonus videos, as well as other rewards depending on the tiers. And thank you so much to all the lovely patrons that are already subscribed. I appreciate it very much. And I will see you all in the next video.